just recently I got my hands on a art tablet, which means that I can now draw poorly, and it's been kind of a fun experience. So for now, let's go ahead and start showing you what I've been trying to learn recently on a new layer. There we go. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is taking pre-established images like this one of Charmander here and trying to create shapes. And you can see my drawing ability is not too great. I haven't been able to do perfect circles or anything like that, but I found that just letting go and kind of get command over it by just feeling it out is a lot easier than just kind of trying over and over again, being very careful. So what we're going to try and do is break this down into very simple shapes. And Charmander here is pretty simple. It's basically just a trapezoid, a circle, and a little, like, I guess another trapezoid kind of deal. Maybe more of a triangle-ish thing right here. And with that, that's our first layer. You can kind of see the shape coming together, but we only use 3 shapes there. So the next step, what we're going to do is delete this and try and break it down into 5 shapes this time. So we're going to start off pretty easily with the head. Whoop. Yeah, there we go. And the body, complete with the legs, because the legs are so short that they're basically just part of the same thing. Oh. But what we're doing here is trying to get a strong grasp of how each image is created. Like you see, he's kind of in a... You see, if you look at him as a total image, Charmander is kind of pointing like a big old, like, triangle thing, you know? And we're not doing that right now. We're trying to capture the head, but you start to get a better grasp of how images are laid out and how to use general shapes in your own creation, right? And if we do good with this, we can start using this in our own basis for things. At least that's the idea, I think. So we're going to, once again, use the same shape here. Just, yeah, there we go. And so, middle it down, cross. This is some sort of like pentagon thing. But not a very good pentagon. I'm not very good at drawing still. But we're learning. That's the important part. Next, we're going to do kind of a freehand of the tail right there, as well as the fire, which is kind of a teardrop. Now, it's not, of course, a perfect teardrop, but it doesn't need to be right now. We're trying to just capture the general shape. You can already see it coming together, right? That's 5 shapes. So next step is to go for 8. And what we want to do is to try and break this down into more and more shapes and be able to take that simplicity of being able to read what it is and take it all the way up to the maximum number of shapes that we can do. For now, I'm doing 20 shapes at maximum. Now we can probably break this arm into 2 different shapes. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do the body again, like so. Once more. And that's 2 shapes. 3 shapes. 4 shapes. 5. And 6. Being able to more subtly grasp what you're looking at is an important part of drawing, and be able to recreate this myself just by practicing drawing all these shapes is hopefully going to be good for me. We've only used, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shapes. We actually want to use 8. So it means we have 2 more shapes to work with, which means I actually could have just drawn these legs, and they're actually kind of more of a teardrop shape if you look at them. You see the kind of teardrop look there? This one, though, is more of a triangle, actually, like this. You see this triangle here? Boom. And you can kind of see I probably shouldn't have drawn the entire body, including the legs there. But if I hadn't done that, you could clearly see what I was trying to draw with just the 8 shapes. Even just the 5 shapes, you can tell. And 3 is where it's kind of hard to tell, but you can still kind of see what we're doing. The stance is still the same after all. Now we're going to go to 12 shapes, and this time we're going to have to be a lot more greedy with each individual image. So we've got 12 shapes to work with. Let's, of course, capture the head. Whoop. I shouldn't be trying to trace. I'm trying to just draw the shapes. So I want to try and make a better circle. There we go. Make a little trapezoid. Yeah. Perfect. A little trapezoid. Because Pokemon in general are very simple, blocky creatures. It's more of a rectangle, I guess. That's fine. It should be that way. And we can actually just draw a big trapezoid here like that and have a much better understanding of what he looks like. Boom. We're going to once again create this triangle because I think the triangle here is the most accurate shape when it comes to the leg we're looking for, as well as this kind of teardrop look here. Whoop. It's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. We're trying to just capture the essence of what we're drawing. And getting used to kind of pushing shapes around instead of just using the usual triangles and whatnot is very good too. Another teardrop. There we go. And that's 8 shapes. We actually want to use 12, so we can actually get to more involved details now. Like, let's say I wanted to draw this eyeball here, which is pretty clearly just kind of a stretched semicircle like that. As well as the other one is kind of the same thing. Whoop. And once again, another stretched semicircle. Whoop. And there we go. That's 3 more shapes out of our 12, which means we only need 1 more, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11. Yeah, so we need 1 more. Which means we could probably capture this circle here on his stomach. Just a big oval. Now we might lose some of the detail because it starts to get, you can see it gets a lot more confused now, but you can kind of see the shapes coming together. And I'm aware it obviously doesn't look amazing because it's not perfectly accurate, but we are capturing the general kind of shape of the creature as we keep going. And here's the big jump though. We want to use 20 shapes now. That's actually the hard part. Trying to capture a creature or something like that with a lot of parts to it can be very difficult. Luckily, we're working with Charmander here. It's very simple. But if we're trying to draw something more complicated, like a human being, we're going to have to compromise on shapes and try not to get lost in details either. That's kind of an important part of this process, is trying to understand which shapes are the most important of the thing you're trying to draw. And again, we're very lucky here with Charmander. He's very simple. Made his head a little bit too round, but that's fine. So if you have shapes to spare, we can easily just draw in the semicircles. Whoop. Not too great on that one. That's okay. We're going to just kind of try and freehand it. And it's a very good practice for getting our command of shapes in general. You want to get used to drawing circles, triangles, and squares. And then you want to try and shape those triangles or circles or squares by forming them into new things like, trapezoids and rectangles and all, and weird like hooks and claws and all those other things, Very important to learn those kind of things, and I think we're doing a decent job of it. At least for a beginner anyway, Big problem though is I'm technically tracing right now. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to just become a copycat. I want to try and develop my own way of doing it, but for now, as a very complete beginner, it's not such a big deal. There we go. We're not worried about accuracy. We're trying to get used to just drawing these shapes in general, and understanding things like scale is going to just come with practice as well as more observation. Once we get more used to drawing these shapes in general and being more accurate, we're going to worry about things like keeping things in line and being in scale, perspective, and that kind of thing will come with time. We're not going to try and, again, copy the shape. We're just going to try and do a simple semicircle, add in semicircles right here, like this one, whoop, for the teeth, because he's got little teeth, and we can actually afford it now with the shapes that we're given. Whoop. There we go. Looks kind of dopey, probably. I can already see that looks kind of dumb, but it's kind of be great. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Yeah, I got 6 shapes, which means we still have 14 more. Let's go ahead and get down to the body, which we're going to try and more accurately capture this time. Make the kind of nice rectangle, and then just going to curve it at the bottom like it is here on the actual creature. It's kind of a weird teardrop thing. It didn't work perfectly, but it looks a lot better now than it did before. We're not going to worry about cleaning up these lines. You would do that in post, but we're just kind of trying to put this together and make something that looks good enough for us to grasp what we're drawing here. Like, after all, it's made out of smaller and smaller shapes, as you can tell. Like, so these are pretty easy, like trapezoids, and then you have little triangles here, which I'm not going to draw because we didn't want to budget our pieces for the time being. We want to make sure we get all the important details first, and then worry about, well, the smaller things. That's another 3. That puts us at 9, right? We can now capture the leg, which I'm going to do with its oval right here. Oh, oval. And this one, we're going to just go ahead and turn into a trapezoid, because I think it actually looks a little bit better as a trapezoid. There we go. Look at that. See? I'm going to do kind of a pointed claw look here. And it's not great, but it's a kind of evolution of the simple triangle we would normally use. All right, where is my pen? There it is. Triangle, or I'm actually not very good at drawing triangles. I should definitely practice that more. So there's a triangle, but what we're doing is just extending it out, and then we're twisting it like that, And this is still technically a triangle in a way, though more of a teardrop, I guess, because I didn't draw it perfectly, but you know what I mean. Speaking of teardrop, here's the flame. We're just going to go ahead and make a teardrop and use that as kind of the basis. Now, if we wanted to actually draw the Charmander, which I'm not going to do right now, because I think this video might be going a little bit long, we would actually probably take this kind of outline and start drawing on top of it. you know, just reduce the opacity a little bit. There we go. And use it kind of as an outline as we create a new layer and start trying to actually draw the creature. Okay, it looks more like a Shuppet. It's just kind of there for an example. It's like as I very badly freehand that in. Anyway, but now we kind of hit a problem. See, we've completed basically all the important shapes, but we still have 20 shapes to do. So 1, 2, 3, 13. That is only 13. We need another 7 more shapes to work with. This is where we have to kind of figure it out. Like we could draw like 6 more shapes, whoops, just by making the toes here, but that would mean the toes we'd draw on and the fingers wouldn't. Do we want to leave the little fingers alone, or do we want to just get rid of the toes? Do we want to add this little thing here? I think actually would be the best thing to do, is to draw this little trapezoid here. Yep. There we go. That leaves us with 14. We have 6 spots left, which is exactly enough to draw the toes. But I'm actually not going to do that, because instead what we're going to do is draw the foot like that as a kind of square, and then just let the rectangle take shape. There we go. So we're going to draw this as a rectangle, so that way you can actually get the impression of the foot being there. Very bad rectangle too. And that is 2 more. That leaves us at what? Was it 15? I don't know, 16. Yeah, 16. So what we're going to do is use 2 shapes on each side to draw the fingers. There's 1, and these 2 are going to become 1 little square. There we go. Here we actually don't need the other ones. We just need this triangle here and this triangle there. Now, is it perfect? Of course not. But if you get rid of the lower layer, you can kind of see, yeah, it's coming together, right? I think it actually looks a lot better than I thought it was going to be. This face is looking very silly compared to the original one. The thing is, it doesn't have to be like the original. The expression has clearly been moved and kind of shifted around, as I didn't draw it perfectly. The mouth is nowhere near on line, but you can still kind of grasp what I'm trying to draw here. That's kind of the fun part of this early stage of trying to learn shapes and whatnot. You're starting to grasp things and put them together, even without being particularly great at it. And eventually what we're going to do is do this in reverse. Start building our shapes into something we want to draw, and then take those as an outline and start creating something even better. And that's what I'm kind of excited for. And hey, it's just day 4 of trying to learn this, right? So we're doing not too bad. In that case, thanks for watching. I'm having a lot of fun, and I hope you guys are inspired to try doing it yourself, because art is always going to be a fun thing to do, I think. It's kind of an expression kind of thing, in a way. And the act of learning something and improving yourself, well, that always feels great, I think. In that case, so long, and have a good day.